everybody's always talking about customer experience, but a lot of times it's forgotten about what happens to the advisors, the BDC managers, the salespeople when customers walk in and it's not set up properly. That experience needs to be a focus as well. And specifically us not being on site, those are the things we need to focus on when we implement the programs.
Those are great points. Do you find that a lot of your sales BDC customers, that those dealers also end up saying, you know what, we need to go sales and service? It just makes sense.
Yeah.
And so they'll end up with you guys with both sides of the coin.
Yeah, a lot of them will start with one or the other, and then they'll just gradually move into the next service, which is either the outbound sales, outbound service, sales BDC, service BDC, because having your BDC, whether it's sales or service offsite, can be scary. It can be understood as or expected as a loss of control. Our goal is to give that control to the dealership through process and making sure we roll it out properly and really set the expectation, not just for the customer, but for the dealership as well. We make sure we have them understand what's expected of them, what's expected of us, and that's what creates a really good working relationship. And that's why the whole, what we call Strolid process, does work extremely well for the dealerships that we work with that embrace it. And eventually, we hear this regularly on my team, on the client success team, which is, I never thought this was going to work. And quite frankly, if I was in the store and somebody told me to bring my BDC off site, I would be very hesitant too. But now knowing what I know and seeing it work so well and the efficiencies that it brings and the customer experience that can be had, it's almost a no-brainer because of the cost savings and the savings of experience of everybody in the store and the customer as well.
Yeah, I've asked dealerships, especially in the last few years, because the service department has just, really seen a lot of growth. People hanging on to cars, a lot of people servicing before they'll buy. That I've told a lot of dealers, like, hey, you should do kind of your own mystery shop yourself by calling your service department, trying to reach your service advisors at like 4:00 or 4:30, especially like on a Friday.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare. And that nightmare is cascading into customer experience, as you mentioned, that you don't want to be providing, because it's really I'd love to know your thoughts on this. I have always thought that providing a bad experience in the service department is actually more lethal than providing a bad experience from the sales department. And I have some thoughts on that, but do you think there's any truth in that, or what do you?
Yeah, there's something to be said about first impressions. So it's why OEMs have the surveys, right? To make sure that they're following up with the dealerships are following up with their customers, making sure that they get in front of any problems that are had. But on the service side, yeah, those customers are returning customers. Sales will see those customers every 3 years, maybe once every 5 years, maybe longer these days, because we know customers are holding on to their cars longer. So that it makes all the sense in the world to really focus on that customer experience and making sure that you're staying in touch with those customers on the service side as well, because they're going to get their cars serviced. It's just a matter of where they do it. It's at our dealerships or somewhere else. And we need to make sure that it's happening at our dealerships.
Yeah, that's a great point. I love to tell dealers, like, why do you want to spend so much money to attract, the potential customer, to get them to a place where they feel comfortable saying, I'm interested in your vehicles, and then win the business, sell them the vehicle, and then when they return, lose them because the service experience was so terrible. Because I feel like if they won your business, you bought the car, and then you give them the opportunity to try to service, and then they lose it there, I feel like that's potentially a lost customer forever, because now you've compromised maybe that trust that the service department builds.